everybody, it's Linda G, and I'm here with Andre.
Hi, everyone.
Man about town. Every time I turn around, he's on with somebody else.
I know. I know. Sorry.
No, I mean, if you're having a good time,
I've been getting around lately. Yes, it's
I'll
true.
tell you, you're
True.
for yeah, you getting around. You you hustling. Are you going to have a nice holiday?
I hope so. Yes. Yes, I
It's
hope
the
so.
outgone Mercury retrograde. You and I were just discussing it.
Yeah, that's
It
one of the
messed me up. I was trying to do a show with my three card members and they said I disappeared. They said they couldn't hear me. And like I told you, I paid $1,000 for this cable directly into my TV. It's Wi-Fi. It's not Bluetooth.
yeah, no, that this is the annoying side of Mercury retrograde is that you do see communication snafus more than usual for sure, because I've seen a few myself. Some I'll admit that I created. And then to your other point around if you're trying to buy something to improve something, especially if it's a gadget, something that involves communication, it's usually best to do the research, do all the work of that nature when it's retrograde, and then get it when it goes direct. Because that's one of the things I learned over the years that I would get something on the retrograde period and then later realize, that was the wrong thing. You should have waited, because it didn't quite
Right.
fit the bill. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So we just got the news that the Supreme Court has turned down the request of Jack to do the immunity and decide now. They said not now is what they told them.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
have
isn't
to
that
wait for more details.
right? So I think what they're going on, if I'm not mistaken, is that it's before the other circuit, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way when they're not really wanting to help, I guess they don't want to speed it up like they
Oh, I
should.
know. And he was very specific. I was listening to what he told them. I mean, he was saying that this is as important as the Nixon. This guy is a criminal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what was it? The point you were bringing up, which was very good. They're trying to look at him like he's not a criminal.
Yeah, well, and there's the other thing that is now in the air, this Colorado ruling, and what I understand about that is that by the text of the Constitution and by what that Colorado court stated, it's entirely correct because nowhere in the Constitution does it say you need to be convicted of something. You just need to be identified as an insurrectionist, and the court, is pointing the obvious. Come on, we all saw it. What do you think was happening? They
Yeah.
started this thing, so they're saying we don't want you on the ballot because you're an insurrectionist, but the court, the Supreme Court, all the conservative judges, in not too long ago, in past rulings, they would say, well, we just did a ruling on guns or some such thing, and the criticism would be, well, this is dangerous because more people will die, and they would say, well, that's not our concern. We're only applying what the Constitution says. We read the letter of the law, but now I guarantee you they're going to go the other way and say, oh no, now we have to intervene, and they're going to say something like, you should only do this if you first convict the guy of insurrection
Which
because
isn't what is in the Constitution.
it's not in the Constitution. And the reason Jack Smith didn't charge him with insurrection is because it is harder to prove. He wanted to make sure he would get him on the core crime. He didn't put insurrection in there. But in doing that, they're being hypocrites. But hey, welcome to the
That's okay. It's
modern,
all going to work
the
out.
modern day GOP. This is like hypocrisy incarnate. Is what they do.
And that speaker, okay, denying special counsel's request to settle it immediately. They denied
Settled
it.
immediately. Yeah, but
So,
remember that doesn't mean it won't be settled pretty quick because the DC circuit, it's just that they're slower, and he was trying to get in front of them, but DC circuit, I don't think they're going to wait forever.
no,
And
I
remember
think
that,
don't move along.
no, and all of this, if I'm going to talk about politics, I have to bring the astrology, and the point is that Trump is moving toward very, very complicated energy. The more we move into spring and summer of 24, that's all you need to pay attention to. And so I remain really skeptical that you can slow down that trial, maybe by a month, possibly Two
Yeah,
at most, but no way is he going to be able to delay it and pass the election and all that. And that's a big problem. You know,
right.
not to mention other problems he has in there with health, etc. But even just on the legal front, he's trying, but I just don't see it. I also don't see how the Supreme Court, if they ever, because you know what's going to happen, if the D.C. Circuit says, okay, no, you don't have immunity, because he doesn't. It's a
No,
totally, BS, made up story that isn't true. And then if it goes to the Supreme Court, how's the Supreme Court going to say he has immunity? I mean, think about it. If a president can do whatever they want, because that's Trump's idea, he's saying whatever I did when I was president is okay.
he
Great.
always said that. He always likes to
Okay.
do this motion and say that.
Okay. Fine. So if they rule that, Biden should immediately arrest him and put him in jail because, by their logic, Biden can do whatever he wants, right? I mean,
Right.
what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So that's why they can't say that. So he's
Oh.
really between a rock and a hard place. I mean, and and I'm saying that, yes, in part because I follow politics a lot, so my radar is pretty sharp around politics, but it's in the astrology too. So good luck with that.
Good luck with that. That's why we
Yeah.
love to watch you, my friend. But let me tell you something else. I had a psychic flash the other day, and I felt Trump. He's still alive, believe it or not, come this spring. But even towards when the voting happens, I see people in the GOP, including Douglas, the House Speaker, saying there must be something wrong because his poll numbers were so high. Well, those poll numbers are about what, 1,000, maybe 3,000 at the most. That's not a big chunk of the United States. But he's going to lose by so much. I see the GOP once again claiming fraud.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. It's just really sad. It's really sad because every single day, practically, some other thing comes out. You probably heard this latest with he's on tape somewhere with that Michigan thing.
Oh, yeah.
He was telling those people, don't certify the election. Why? Oh, because everybody knows that Detroit is a crooked city.
It's a crooked place.
This is like Trump's thing. Everybody knows. Like, who's everybody? It's you and your uncle and the people at Mar-a-Lago and whichever MAGA group you're talking to. That's not everybody. That's a group of people that are as delusional and corrupt as you. But how does that stand up in court? Well, the point is they're all being charged. From what I hear in Michigan, all those fake electors, aren't they getting charged?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. Yes, it's maybe slower than people want, but the law is moving forward. In lots of
It will
places.
move forward. I don't know
And by the way, when you live in a capitalist system, one of the great correctors is don't open your mouth or you might get sued. Ask Rudy how that's working out for him, right? Now he's going bankrupt. That's not going to help either because there are remedies for that, right? Courts will
Yeah.
garnish your wages. I mean, he's going to be running for the rest of his life, this guy, running away from his problems. And, uh, you know, uh, if you include that, he's probably wrecked his liver by now with all that drinking.
Yeah. Oh, he's not very healthy at all.
No, it's not a good ending.
So the Speaker of the House name isn't Mike Douglas. It's Mike
No,
Johnson, right?
Johnson, yeah, Mike Johnson. You're thinking
I'm
of
thinking,
Frederick,
I'm
you're thinking,
thinking of Mike Douglas, the Mike Douglas show.
or maybe Frederick Douglass, the one that Trump said the guy died like in whenever. I mean, he hasn't been around since forever, and Trump was saying something about how great he is, and this is Trump's thing, right? That he doesn't even know where he is half the time.
He
And
talked about the airports during the
yeah,
Civil War.
during the Civil War, like this is the guy that is always saying how Biden is in cognitive decline. You're the manifestation of yourself of cognitive decline. I mean, honestly, it's so
So
farcical.
Mike Johnson on Twitter is busy talking about the failed Biden. They still haven't come up with any kind of board or so. And Kamala and Joe Biden both presented Congress with a
Hmm.
very powerful border control, and nobody did anything with it. But they're blaming Biden, of course. So anyway, so he's saying the failed this, and I said, so what? In the meantime, you're sitting at home. You got your nice vacation. Why aren't you back there in the Congress, working on this like the senators are?
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember that they play, especially in the current political era, both sides do this, but the GOP does it the most by far. They just do things that their base, their group will like and approve. So they pretty much can do anything because that whole group, many, many millions will support them no matter what, even if it's complete hypocrisy, because you're totally right. If you were really serious about the border, you stay there and you work on it. And they're not doing that. And, I had heard someone say that it's not in their best interest to pass something related to the border because they can use that next year to accuse Democrats as being the ones causing the problem, right? But they have another thing to deal with, which is that the Senate wants to give them something, and there may be enough Republicans in the House to join with the Democrats to pass something. That's possible too. Don't assume they'll be able to carry that through. So it's entirely possible. And this is where you see like a total lack of wisdom, because what's happening here is that Biden has had a hard time because of his astrology, and the astrology is correlated totally to the Israeli thing. As soon as the Israeli thing happened, Biden's numbers dropped about 10 points. And Trump, because he's such a genius, he saw that and then he thinks, things are going really well. I'm on the road back. Now I'm going to start talking like Hitler because, people like that even more. Really bad idea, because as those cycles change, the Democrats are going to say, hey, this guy talks just like Hitler. He wants to take over the country and so forth. So going into 24, when the energy starts to change and get worse for him and better for Biden, what they've got is all kinds of indefensible positions, right? Because think of the women's issues too. Where are they going to go with that? Even if it was Nikki Haley, what's Nikki Haley going to say? She can't say women should have full choice, because then all the crazies in their group get upset. But if she says anything else, most women say, I don't like this. Why are you telling me what to do? It's a horrible situation for the GOP going into 24. Doesn't matter who they put in there. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and she also said she would pardon Trump.
Well, that's another great one, another great one that, you tell me, why is it that this thing happens? And one of the polls I saw about Colorado, right? Colorado is one of the states. They took a nationwide poll and 54% said, yes, he committed crimes. Well, isn't that a better poll? Think about it, right? If 54% think he's committed crimes, now you think they're also going to vote for him? That's a little weird,
Yeah,
To me, if you look at the polls, be really careful, because Biden's numbers now are really low because a lot of Democrats who are, in this case, pro-Palestine, because, there are two sides, it's a really difficult issue, they're upset with Biden. We'll see where that goes. You can almost read, by the way, the Israeli conflict through the lens of Biden's chart improving in the spring. So probably things will settle down then and become manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can Andre tell me about grand crosses in a chart? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing and a bad thing together. There, I'll be confusing. The reason is a grand cross is, you think of planets, cut the circle in 4 pieces, you get a cross. So a person like that is more dynamic, more action-oriented, but also more conflicted. And this is where it depends on how well that person is able to manage their life. If they're able to manage their energy properly, then the Grand Cross can be great, because there's a constant driving energy to do things and change things and improve things. Right. But if not, with all that conflict, that can lead to depression, paralysis, a feeling of being stuck and so forth. So this is why I refer to my astrology as proactive, in that it's much more important to be proactive about yourself so that your chart will work better. Put aside the predictive, start with proactive so that you give your planets a chance to work for you. It's super, super important, right? So again, the answer to that is it depends. And look around and you'll see really high achieving people with grand crosses, but you can find people that are in a really bad place with grand crosses as well, right? That's the thing.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Andre, Martha, this is from Martha. Can you tell us if any birth rising signs will be particularly well aspected in 2024?
Gemini.
Really?
Yeah, because Jupiter's in Gemini. So
I know, but Trump is a Gemini.
Well, Trump is a
Jack,
Gemini.
right?
Yeah. Wait, I think so. Yes, that's right. They're both, but not. But that's the sun sign. She asked about rising
Oh,
sign. So
rising, yeah.
the rising sign, the example I often bring in is uh, when Jupiter. That's Jupiter going through the ascendant. It's one of
Right.
the best years in the 12-year cycle. So when Bill Clinton was elected in 92, Jupiter was crossing his ascendant. And when Barack Obama was elected in 2008, Jupiter was crossing the ascendant. That tells you how powerful it is. But that's also why, I think I said this the last time or the time before that with you, Kamala has Gemini rising. That's a very good thing for Kamala in 2024. And you could potentially say, yes, there is some possibility, maybe, I doubt it, maybe Biden doesn't run and then she runs. Fine, fine, because her chart is great in 2024, right? But if she's part of the ticket, you kind of think that
Still, it's
can't
still
hurt.
good.
Yeah, because the idea is that Jupiter goes through there, you're really happy, you feel really great. So why does Kamala feel great in November of 2024? You
Not
tell
because
me.
she lost. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So that's how you project that. So now you could also say Jupiter and going through there. So Gemini rising is good, and air. So Aquarius and Libra are good ones too because Jupiter then would trine
Oh,
that
so I
area.
have Libra rising.
Yeah, so it's good for you. Yeah, definitely.
Good in like what? Monetary?
Everything. Well, the thing is, the way you look at it is your Jupiter's in Gemini too. So you're having the Jupiter return coming back to its natal
My
place.
Jupiter's in Gemini?
Yes, yes. So your Jupiter's in Gemini in a section of the chart in the ninth where you publish things, put things out.
I just finished my book. It's going to
Right,
be
exactly. So going through there in that it's really good in 2024, but it also makes a trine to your ascendant in Libra. So it's really good that way. And with Aquarius is the other trine. It's like you make a triangle in the sky. So the air signs are getting the assistance of Jupiter. That's how that
oh,
works.
wow.
Yeah. But by
Wonderful.
the way, you're in a pretty good place right now because you're Virgo, so you've been in the Jupiter's been in Taurus. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn are benefiting from Jupiter. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's pretty good. It's not like you're in a really good place now too, but it
Oh, I
continues.
feel really happy. I don't know why. Could be the drugs and alcohol.
Okay, I'm not gonna ask which ones. Let's just say okay, cool.
I mean, here's my son who doesn't touch anything, never has. They're totally against it. He says, "Hey, Mama, how you doing? What you doing? Smoking crack?" So off the charts. Anybody
Oh
was
my God,
listening in on the phone call, they'd say, "Wow."
that's funny.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Sharon said, December 22nd is my 81st birthday.
Oh,
Congratulations, Sharon.
congratulations.
Does this day in the coming year hold any special things? Well, then you'd have to do a whole chart on that.
Yeah, you pretty much. I mean, that's the one thing about that is that it's the right of the beginning of Capricorn. And I mean, one of the things about Capricorn energy, which is kind of in the books, you keep reading it, is that Capricorn typically does better later in life. So if
Yeah,
you're
that's true.
if you're that age and you feel pretty good, especially, I mean, if you're dealing with health problems, it's obviously harder. But if you feel pretty good, uh, it's very possible that your 80s could be your most important decade. Uh, Not that he was a Capricorn, Linus Pauling, but I often refer to him as my idol in the sense of thinking of being, you know, at that age. He wrote some of his best work in his 80s, which I think
Yeah.
is remarkable, right? And he was a Nobel Prize winner and everything, but there he was, still helping people, writing, and really enjoying life, and not a trace of dementia or anything else. Totally, totally on. So that's something to
Yeah,
say.
because that psychic astrologer, the one I love that's dead now, she said to me, your life will really start picking up once you hit your 60s.
Hmm,
So I'm
interesting.
like, what? And I was in my 30s when she said that.
Yeah, you
So
probably
I'm
at the
like,
time
oh no, she's no, I need somebody else. She's no good.
yeah, you probably thought, what? That's too long. I want it now.
um, Martha, Andre, can you tell us if any birth rising signs? Oh no, I already read that. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um, well, I don't know if you looked at this. Liz says Ruben Gailey Gallio, representative in Arizona. He is running for Senate seat that Sinema holds. Does his chart look good to win? Have you glanced at him at all?
I haven't looked at. I think she means Ruben Gallego, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't looked at him. The thing is, there are so many charts flying around. I'll get to all of them.
Did you ever look at Cinnamon or Cinema?
I looked at cinema back in the day, but I haven't looked at her in a while.
Okay. I just never felt her winning again. Boom.
No, my feeling, yeah. If I go with my political intuition, I'll call it that. I don't think she's in a good place
No,
because
she's
my
too
feeling has always
flip-flop.
been she's kind of she's basically she sold it out. She went for the money and the fast money, the fast power because she was getting GOP sources to help her. That's not usually a good plan when you do that.
So did
That's why-
Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin sold himself out. And do you notice we're not hearing a word about him?
Yeah, he had been threatening to run and all that, but
Oh, I think he went out and got some numbers and figured that he wasn't going to win no matter what.
yeah.
I said,
Well,
yeah, you go on. He announced he wasn't going to run and he was going to take some time to talk to people. He's not talking to anybody that would vote for him.
no, and then you have the problem that if you do your inside polling and all that, and you're getting low numbers, and then you still run, then you have everyone attacking you for taking votes away from Biden, which he would probably hate. So yeah, it makes sense.
So Maddie said, Pat Lee said, hey, Andre, can you please shed some light on how Chinese astrology may or may not be compatible with Western astrology?
Well, I mean, the only thing with Chinese astrology is that, whenever they bring up the year of whatever animal it is, this is not that different from focusing Western astrology on just the 12 signs and giving no more information, right? So,
Right.
but I will tell you this: I've come across, because when you do astrology, as long as I have, I've been doing this for almost 45 years. So I remember. This is now many years ago, but twice coming across people that were doing Chinese astrology, but in the real way, meaning they were actually drawing a chart with all the points and doing an in-depth dive. And I noticed that a lot of what they were saying is very similar to what my own chart reveals in Western astrology, meaning they're looking at actual planets. And that to me is the real astrology. When you start saying, "Oh, that's it. It's the year of the dragon or the year of the rabbit, and that's going to solve everything." Well,
and then you got earth, fire, wood, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can. But even there, even if you say something like, "We're in the rooster year with fire and metal or whatever," that's still not enough to give a person the full picture, right? But
Right.
Chinese astrologers definitely look deeper because I've had that experience. Person reading my energies and saying some really interesting things that I thought, oh, that sounds kind of suspiciously like what's in my own chart already.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Linda, please ask Andre, this is Leah, what is going on? It points an absolutely amazing new world transformation, real celestial events in 2024. The whole universe is watching us, question mark. Do you understand that question?
Well, the only thing about that question is that if you're looking for some kind of utopia, I would counsel you to be more realistic. 2024, there are some interesting things happening. For instance, Pluto will be in Aquarius most of the year. We saw how in a little bit of a dip in Aquarius earlier this year, aside from really, really being bad for George Santos, separate story. But in terms of the whole world, AI was coming in, and there's all this potential now for revolutionary technology and all that. That's a possibility. Also, revolutionary medicine maybe in 2024. But we also know we're going into an election year in the U.S. at a time that the totality of the astrology is pretty tricky. It has a lot of these echoes of the Civil War. That's why the country's so divided, and there are some really difficult energies. So if you expect 24 to be some kind of utopia, probably not. I don't think so.
Deborah wants to know, will Aileen Cannon be removed as judge? I
Uh,
saw her being removed, but it's a little ways down the road.
yeah, not yet. That was what I was about to say is not yet. She has enough. Let's put it this way. That's a chart that I don't have a birth time for, but even without a birth time, you can see why she was. I remember saying this before, she got going on this, that she would likely be in the middle of this controversy because of the way the chart has these patterns. And so there's enough there for her to be removed, yes, at some point. And she plays a dangerous game because she's pretty transparently trying to help him, even though it's very clever. The way she's doing it is through creating schedules and things that you can't really challenge by, going to the circuit the way they did to her in the other case. But sooner or later, I think she's going to step in it, and they'll call her in out.
And they'll call her out.
Yeah.
So listen, when Trump loses next November, when Trump loses and they lose the House and everything, they're going to lose everything. Do you think there'll be a lot of difference energetically with these, like the Supreme Court and stuff? They won't be showing their butts as much. Aileen Cannon, as she knows he's no longer president and will never be president. Because I'm telling you, he offered her a justice seat if he wins as president.
Well, I would say that the answer to that is yes, and be careful in the sense that for sure, when that door is closed, that immediately changes a big portion of the energy. And at the same time, because of the echoes of the Civil War and the tremendous division we're in, and you can say it's all Trump's fault, and in many ways it is, but Trump needs people that think in this way. And this is like a strain in the American psyche that's always been there. I didn't realize how bad it was in the 1930s and 40s, how there were all these Nazis walking around, and it was because of
Pearl Harbor
that it totally changed. So the point being that we're in that energy as well. So my feeling is that the GOP is not going to be happy with the election no matter what happens. You said this yourself, right?
Yeah.
They cheated. So
Cheated.
expect instability and unhappiness for a while, at least 2 years, maybe 4. This is going to go deeper into the decade. But it is also true that the energy changes a lot because, for instance, this is where we get into, I've often thought about the thing that you said, maybe it was you, I think it was you, that wasn't it Sterling who thought that Trump was he intuited that Trump would run away to a different country when...
Yeah, Sterling thinks that when everything starts coming down, sort of like where Rudolph or Rudy Giuliani is right now.
Right. Well, exactly. So the point being that to me smacks of the desperation of you no longer have anything that you can do other than run away. You can't be
Exactly
yelling and screaming. So, and that is what Trump's chart looks like in 25, 26.
Yeah.
If things don't get
he'd
better,
be
they get
like,
worse.
to hell with you guys. And if he can't be president, he doesn't want to.
Exactly. So all of that, though, you can see why, on the one hand, yes, the energy changes for, much better, obviously, but at the same time, it isn't like all these people go away and stop making noise and stop saying things that are insane. Usually that takes a little longer. So both of those are happening together, I think.
How about Vedic Ramaswamy? You took a look at him before? This girl's saying he creeps her out. NJZ said, this guy creeps me out. But didn't you take a look and he's a nothing burger?
Yeah, I call him Ramasmarmy. He's in the midst of it's like the misuse of Jupiter energy. We were talking about earlier how Jupiter can bring in expansive energy into your life, and it feels really good. And it's also true that when someone is on a Jupiter challenge type of transit, they will be overconfident and overexpand and basically overdo it, which is already his nature to begin with. So then he's in that kind of period and he's getting attention from that. But you can already tell, he's a total nothing burger. Look at his, the approval is really low. Yes, he will appeal to some of the MAGA people who like that kind of, blowhard arrogant type of behavior, but that doesn't go anywhere in the broader electorate, you know.
And this
So
morning, they were talking about, I don't know if you saw it. You watch Morning Joe, right? Did you see how
most days,
Nikki
but
Haley's way up there and Christie's right behind her
you mean in New Hampshire maybe or somewhere like that?
in the polling? Yeah.
Yeah, they're gaining. I mean, they're still not.
No, they're still way behind Trump.
They're still way behind, yeah, but they're definitely gaining. I mean, because this is the thing, right? I mean, weren't you struck by? It's interesting when it comes to polls, right? So they took a poll of GOP people, like Republicans. 24% said that he shouldn't be on the Colorado ballot. No, well, that's crazy. That's a quarter of the party is saying, yeah, you know what that means? They're saying he's a crook. He's a crook. Just that's the truth. He ran an insurrection. They're not saying, oh, it was a tourist visit. But
Yeah.
then you get a little scared when you think, yeah, but three-quarters are saying that it was a tourist visit, right? Or
Yeah.
that some of them, I've seen things on Twitter/X where they say, yeah, they say things like, that was not Trump supporters, that was Antifa, that was planted FBI operatives, that was not Trump supporters. Sure, yeah, right,
Right.
right.
So this is from Dan. You know who Dan is, right?
Then
Dan Finalti. He said, is there any chance that where is it? I just had it. Doggone it. Anyway, a chance that Trump might actually be disqualified from being on the ballot.
there is, because this is where you can't tell necessarily the way something shows up. When you look at a chart in a situation like this, and what you see though is tremendous pressure at a point where it's the last thing you need, right? You put it that way. For example, you throw all the Saturn, which is the most difficult. That alone is enough to take a person down. But then you see other stuff in his chart, very, very serious potential health challenge, which even if it doesn't show up as health, it always puts you in a disjointed, maladjusted position, right? And then even the Pluto entering Aquarius, which was no good for him in late Capricorn either. It's been really difficult that way. That's why he's in such a jam. But the early Aquarius part is no good either, because it links to his this thing of his where he just wants to do whatever he wants and never respects any rules. And the Pluto is running major interference on that in 2024. Very unhelpful. So you see all these patterns that tell you what he wants to do gets blocked, gets stopped. And it's interesting. He had a lot of Saturn in 2017. If you remember, that was the year when he couldn't get anything going because he didn't understand the government well enough.
No.
The Mueller thing came in. He spent the whole year, kind of in shackles, like
Obsessed with the Mueller thing too.
right, but feeling like he couldn't move, right? And so then the Saturn is again making a square, going into 2024, which is the last thing he needs because that's suggestive of being held back, restrained, and so forth. So that's
Okay.
the answer to that.
Hey, what do you think about the full eclipse in April? I'm going to Texas to see that eclipse.
Say that again. Which
That
one?
full eclipse that's happening in April.
Yeah, well, eclipses, they heighten the energy around that time. And there's enough there in the astrology for it to be super heightened. So you can count on that period being extra intense, because that's what eclipses do. Solar and lunar, whenever they happen, it's whatever's around at that time, right? And there's a ton of energy in 2024.
Okay. Yeah,
So
because the last eclipse, I went with my son and my nephew. And I kind of went to take them and get the rooms and the flights and stuff and just make sure they were fed. And I was so overwhelmed by that eclipse. Have you seen a full eclipse?
I've seen the closest was I can't remember if it was lunar or solar. I know that it was here a few years ago, and I actually saw the daylight reducing, and then expanding again. So it was you could.
Well, that's what
normal
happens,
daylight.
but it's almost like we're standing in an unreal earth because
Yeah,
it's not just it gets dark, it gets kind of like weird looking outside. And then it totally turns like 15 degrees down. It gets freezing cold.
Yeah, I remember that too. I remember that the
And
temperature goes
then
down.
all of
Yeah.
a sudden they call it the diamond ring. All of a
Mhm.
sudden when it moves away, there's this brilliant light. It is just, I was so excited by it. I told my son, next time we're going again. So we're
Yeah,
going again.
and on eclipses, because the general thing, people will say, "Oh, eclipse bad." Not necessarily. I've experienced eclipses that were very difficult, and that's usually where the chart, your own chart, will have a linkage that is not particularly helpful. But I also remember eclipses that I felt high. I felt connected in an unusual way because the eclipse also can do that, provided it links reasonably with your chart. It could even be, if you think about it, right? The eclipse, if okay, there's absence of light, and having light is better. But sometimes, if there's an absence of light, it can motivate you in a special way. And even there, when I say that, doesn't explain why I felt really high at the time, but because you normally think, well, less energy, you shouldn't feel as high. All I'm reporting is that it was absolutely true. I wasn't making it up. So don't assume immediately that because it's an eclipse, it's a bad thing. Not at all. It can be
Right.
a moment
Now,
when you start something important, for example.
so when you've been looking, I know you're doing a lot of looking. Is
Hmm.
there anything new and upcoming you thought you would tell people or warn people, or have you looked at something and thought, oh, this sign could be in trouble, or
Well, the one thing that people have heard me say, both in the channel many times and in my class, I brought this up a lot, teaching astrology, that in the last couple of years, I've had this strong focus on this angle in astrology that often is not paid that much attention to, the 150, which is it's an angle. It's like you count 150 degrees from the ascendant, for example, which puts you in Virgo and Scorpio. That's the one that uh, literally, if you look at Matthew Perry's chart, it's in there in a big way. When this guy lost his life, big, because it's health and death. It's a very dangerous aspect, and that's what's challenging Trump in a major way next year. That's why I keep saying there's a health threat, right?
I know a lot of psychics are feeling real. I had that dream he was dead in a coffin, as you know.
Well,
It's
or
so
even,
real.
or any kind of health hampering something,
And
right?
you know what? Can I tell you something real quick? I had that dream, and the way he was laid out in the coffin, it was a glass coffin, and lights were on him. And when I went up to him, he even looked kind of waxy. And I even thought, oh, he's laid out just like Stalin. Isn't that interesting? He's kind of going that direction. Do you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
well, he's like a Stalin clone.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump is nakedly now telling us that he wants to be like Hitler, Kim Jong Un. He likes Orban. He likes all the people that are dictatorial. So yeah, no, 100%,
Right.
100%.
But tell me about that 150. Did you see it in Putin's shirt?
Well, no, yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so Putin is in a scenario where he's going from 150s to the opposition, which is equally bad or worse. This is one of the reasons why you look at 2025, which is the post-election period. Putin's a Libra. It's got all kinds of planets in Libra. That's where Saturn is going to oppose. Saturn and Neptune. That conjunction that is coming, 25, 26, it's on the other side of that. That is not good. Sorry, that's just basic astrology. You can read it through that and realize not good. And if it's, the whole idea, what is Putin doing? He's trying to get Trump elected because then Trump would hand
Oh,
Ukraine the keys to
and he
Ukraine
thinks
over.
he can be elected. Oh, by the way, may I bring up one thing to you?
Hmm.
You know, all those, Rachel Maddow was talking about all those Jewish temples and all these airports were getting bomb threats. Three
Yes,
quarters of the bomb threats are coming from a different nation.
that I'm not surprised. And what
So
are you
what
what are you
about the
saying?
Colorado court? All of a sudden, they're getting inundated with death threats. I wonder how many of those death threats are coming from a different nation.
Yeah, well, what's interesting there though is that when I did the collaboration with Dan Waits, he's done a lot of work on the big planet patterns and how they correlate to to countries, and he's building on the work of André Barbeau. My namesake was this astrologer that had predicted the pandemic in 2011. You know, this guy really understood those patterns, and he linked Saturn, Neptune to Russia. And at first I thought, well, does that even make sense? I mean, you just put, create. But then I looked at the dates, and it's amazing. It's striking that Saturn, Neptune conjoined, there was the Russian Revolution. Saturn, Neptune conjoined, and the Soviet Union fell apart in 89. They're conjoining again in 25, 26. So you tell me, right? Now, are you going to tell me that they're going to take over the world? How does that even work? They're like, McCain had said, Russia is a gas station with weapons. That's what they are. They're
And
not.
don't buy their sushi.
No, yeah, well, they're not. They're a country with an economy about the size of Italy or of Texas, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty hard to, be an empire the way Putin wants to be, and take on the U.S. is a $20+ trillion economy. The European Union is another 20 trillion. You're fighting a big block of energy and money and power, and yeah, maybe he thinks for a while, yes, it'll work okay, but he's going from 150s to, again, the opposition. Not good. I'm sorry.
Not good.
Don't put your money on that guy.
No.
By the way, another one. Who else has Gemini rising? Zelensky. Right. So what does that mean?
He's going to have a bad time too?
He's gonna have a good time next year.
Oh.
Because remember before we said, someone asked, "What's the sign that you want next year?"
Yes.
Gemini. So he has Gemini rising. Now, of course, someone might in the background say, "Hey, Trump is also Gemini." That's Trump's sun sign. Trump, the totality of the energy around it, right? When you look at it, to me, that Jupiter, it is going to expand his life, but more through notoriety or through being even more well known. Yeah, of course, he's going to be front and center, not in a good way in Trump's case, in my opinion. But Zelensky, he is a Gemini rising and he's an Aquarius. So that's two air signs getting the energy of Jupiter. So that's really good,
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Biden is looking into taking money that Russia has in our banks, illegal monies. They've they froze them, and he's thinking about giving because I thought before the end of the year they were able to give Ukraine money, and of course Congress went home.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, well, that's the thing that in a lot of ways, people can sometimes despair and think, why am I seeing this? No one is doing anything about it. Don't assume that. I mean, these people.
Let me tell you, because
if you're seeing it, they're seeing it too. I mean, you see something in Jack Smith's case, and you think, oh, Jack is thinking it through. He's not an idiot. He's done it for many
and
years.
he knew this could possibly.
Yeah, and the
That
same with Biden. You don't think there are going to be 30 people in the White House, all these experts saying, hey, we just saw this thing, they're analyzing it, they're looking for a response. So don't always assume, oh, the government is sleeping. No, they're not. I mean,
That's something very passionate with him, is that he wants the Ukraine to beat Putin, period.
Yeah. Who do you mean? You mean
Biden. Biden will move heaven and earth if he has to open up his own wallet
right.
to help Zelensky.
Right.
So I want to ask you the last question. Tell me about if you've seen, or if you can take a quick look-see at Nalvaney. I don't think he's dead.
Well, I looked at Navalny, so that's an example of, again, no birth time. I wish, because that would be really good to know what's exactly happening to this guy. For a situation like that, it would be helpful. It's less helpful, not as important. When you're doing personal astrology, you can give really amazing advice without a birth time. There's no need to have it. It helps, it adds something more, but still enough. But for a political thing, helps to have it. But what I noticed is that 25 looks better for him. It does look better. So if 25 looks at least a little better, you kind of wonder, that's sort of the opposite of what you'd think.
Yeah.
You think things should be getting worse and, maybe he dies or no. To me, it improves, right? How much? Can't tell 100%, but it improves.
Well, he's probably out of jail for sure by 25. Because
well, then, yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing.
Oh, that's wonderful. By the way, did you fish in that river back there behind you?
No, I didn't fish in this river, but it's a nice river. I like it.
Yeah, sure is. All right, my friend.
All right, that was fun as always.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, and wish everyone a really happy holiday season and a prosperous 2024.
Yes.
Prosperous and interesting, because it's going to be, for sure.
Are you doing any shows? Or are you taking off or what?
I still might have a couple more. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm doing a lot less in the last week because I've been doing a lot of work and I want to pull back. Plus, I need to also get some things in order in my house because we had a plumbing problem and everything
Oh,
is still
Jesus.
not back to normal. And so it'll be a busy period. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, stay on here for me. Bye, you guys.